One of the issues that's important and dear to me is our veterans. We need to expand veteran resources locally. And that's because there's no reason why Nassau County veterans should have to travel out to Suffolk County for any kind of medical care. We have a facility right here in our community, and we should be utilizing it to make it easier for our veterans to access medical care and other necessities that they need. Today we're going to be focusing on the environment. Our environment is going to be a top priority for me. Becoming a DE certified smart climate community is simply smart. Becoming a climate smart community means to preserve, improve, and protect our natural resources. So join me. It's as easy as using a recyclable water bottle and using one of the recyclable bags for your groceries. Once we've achieved the goal of becoming a climate smart community, there are so many resources available to us through education and grants. I'll post a link on my website, eileenhasaplan.com, so you can see all the other resources that'll be available to us. 2 weeks ago, a Hicksville man was arrested for scamming over $86,000 from our seniors. Perhaps if they had been informed about these scammers, they would not have lost their life savings. This will not happen under my watch. In Nassau County, there's only a handful of affordable senior housing. At most, several of these housing residences can accommodate only 100 or so. The largest residence is right here in East Meadow called the Meadows. I have to say, I viewed the apartments and they are beautiful. The only issue, there are tremendous waiting lists to get into these residences. These senior residences are maintained, fully maintained, and their security. A friend of mine told me this week that his parents had to leave New York. He was devastated. He felt that his children lost the ability to have their grandparents live here with them on Long Island. We need more affordable housing so we can keep our seniors on Long Island with their families, where they belong. Today I felt an urgency to bring to your attention, LD13, some recent activity that's happened that I feel is important for you to know. The county legislature met this past Monday and proposed 2 bills eliminating 2 fees that were enacted in 2016 under the Mangano administration with the full support of the county legislature. One is eliminating the $355 tax map verification fee. And 2 is the $55 public safety fee. Now that's the fee that you typically see in a traffic violation. While initially this looks great for the taxpayers, let's take a closer look. Once you eliminate these fees, you now have to find a way to fill what will become a deficit. And that will be a deficit of $38.2 million. Has this initiative been vetted properly? Are we using tax surplus to fill this hole, potentially putting the county at risk for a shortfall in the future? The $55 safety fee is specifically earmarked for our police and anti-terrorist task force activities. Is this really the time to take money away from our police and put our taxpayers' safety at risk? As your legislator, I will always keep you informed on these important decisions and will be completely transparent. In 2017, I fought against the tax map fee and the mortgage recording fee. These should have never been passed, and I would have continued to fight against these money grabs. But for the last 4 years, your legislator has sat silent and complacent. For 4 years, your legislator has had the opportunity to take action on your behalf, and he has stayed silent until 6 weeks before the election. 6 weeks before the election, you've now decided that this is an initiative for these tax savings, or is it rather Peter taking from Paul? And this, my friends, is politics and grandstanding at its finest. There are many, many, many ways that we can have tax savings for our hardworking taxpayers. Part of Eileen Has a Plan is investing in our youth. Our youth is untapped potential. This past week, I had the honor to interview a young entrepreneur, one of the co-founders of SandCloud. And it was through his diligence and perseverance that he became a success. So why are we not investing in our youth? Our next young business owner might be from our community. But what we need to do is we need to create, once again, a partnership. So in my plan on eileenhasaplan.com, you'll see an outline of some initiatives that I think we can take to create success for our young business future owners, our youth that has vision. So the first thing is we're going to create a mentorship program. We're going to tap into the successful businesses that we have in our district, and they're going to give back. And they're going to give back in the form of mentoring, answering questions, giving them advice. We're also going to connect our young business entrepreneurs with Small Business Association, and we're going to help them get grants. We're going to help them get startup money. So investing in our youth just makes sense because they are our future. And it also does another objective, and that is eliminating the empty storefronts that we have. So let's combine the two. Let's create success for our youth and our community. That fuels our community, and that helps our community grow. There are so many opportunities for our youth. There's higher education. There's their visions of small business ownership, but there's also apprenticeship. And for those students that want to go into labor, we're going to give them support by creating a program that allows them to have easier access to apprenticeship. Let's remember, our unions are the foundation of our country. They built America, and I am proud to stand with all of our unions. And let's not forget our existing small business. When you're looking for employees, look locally. Look for a recent graduate. Look for someone who's interested in what your business does, because you're going to get a lot more effort from someone who is interested in what your business has to offer. What can we do about taxes? Well, there's actually several things that we can do about taxes. First and foremost, we want to make sure that we're vetting our contracts, that we're making sure that we are getting all the bang that we can for our buck. We also want to make sure that we do not have what historically has been in Nassau, the pay-to-play culture. And that's someone getting a contract because they know someone. That's just an easy answer. Another initiative is utilizing vacant county-owned buildings and vacant properties. Why are we not leasing out these properties? Two things. We create revenue and they go back on the tax roll. That increases our surplus for our bottom line. According to our county comptroller, we actually have a surplus in our tax revenue. So what does that tell us? That tells us that even after a pandemic, our small businesses are rebounding. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we are reinvesting back into our small businesses because it's cyclical. Meaning that once our businesses kind of get back on their feet, they're hiring back their employees. When employees are working full-time jobs, they then have the money to put it back into the community. Just makes sense. As your legislator, I will always bring important information back into the community. Information that I feel is important for you to know as a taxpayer, regardless of if it's in my purview or not, information that impacts you as the taxpayer. One of the key issues on my eileenhasaplan.com is mental health. Now, something that the general population may not know is the county received a $115 million settlement from the opioid industry. $115 million is a lot of money that we can reinvest into resources to help those suffering from mental health, whether it be substance abuse. We know that substance abuse and alcoholism is on the rise, and we know that from speaking with Dr. Jeffrey Reynolds from Family and Children's Association. We also know that fentanyl use is on the rise, and we need to be able to have programs available and resources available to help those suffering with addiction. Depression is also a very important part of recovery and post-pandemic. So we're going to make sure that we utilize that money in a way that is going to be reinvesting in our community for those suffering, whether it be from substance abuse, alcoholism, post-pandemic depression. So as your legislator, I'm going to make sure that we support these initiatives to get people back on the road of recovery. We created a text platform, and I have been receiving questions and answering them throughout the campaign, and I thought this would be a really good time to share some of the concerns and the questions that I've been getting. So just as a reminder, if you have a question, my text number is 516-289-0131. One of the first questions that I've been asked was, the Coliseum Hotel has become a disgrace to our community. What will you do to address that? And I could not agree more. Thank you so much for that question. I've actually been messaged about this several times. The Coliseum Motel has been a haven for illegal activities, and not to mention the quality of life for the people that live directly behind them. And actually, those are the people that have reached out to me. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to have an increase in police presence there. However, I don't want to utilize our very valued police for one purpose, to just monitor a facility. The second thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that the owner of the property is contacted, because ultimately, he has the oversight of what's going on his own property. And I would say lastly, the last thing that I will do as a legislator is, if these illegal activities continue to persist, I will make sure that we go to the licensing committee, and he'll be given a warning that he either cleans up the act, make sure that the quality of life for his neighbors that live directly behind the facility, that their lives are no longer impacted by what's going on there. And if, again, it continues to persist, we will pull his license, and that'll be that. We do not have that option to let that continue in our community. It is a stain in our community, and I know a lot of residents are really upset about that. The next question that I received is, Eileen, at this time, East Meadow has 2 large 65 and over housing developments being built. As a community, what can we do to make sure they have access to our local government, stores, and services that will provide them excellent quality of life? That's kind of a twofold question, because one of the concerns that I have with those communities is the price tag. They're $650,000 and up. Now, if you are 65 and older, individual couple, and decide that that is where you want to reside, then that's a good fit for you. But what I do see is that we don't have enough affordable senior housing, and although both of those entities were privately owned, I would have liked to see at least one of them become more of an affordable senior housing community, like the one that we have on Merrick Avenue, because that facility, those residences are really, they're gorgeous. The way that I would address that is when you have these high-end communities that are built for 65 and older, they typically have a clubhouse, a meeting point where residents can come. I will actually utilize that with the property owners, and we'll have mini town hall meetings there, so we can inform the residents on important information, and I can bring resources in. One of the other things that I know I've been asked is seniors that aren't tech savvy or computer savvy, how will we make sure we get messaging to them? Well, there's a couple different ways. You know, certainly if there's a senior who wants to become more tech savvy, we'll set up a program and teach them how to use either a tablet or computer, or maybe they have a smartphone. My mother has a smartphone. So why not? Next question is, how will you reach out to seniors that are not tech savvy and cannot or do not text? So I think we just answered that. During my initial launch with the Senior Protection Program, we're going to identify demographics in our community of, I haven't decided if we should do 68 or 70 and up. Once we identify those seniors, we're going to do an outreach, which means we're going to actually go into their homes. We'll make sure that a well visit is performed at that time, and then we'll make an assessment on is this a senior citizen who's better off getting either a phone call or a mailer, or is this a senior citizen that is tech savvy? So we're going to accomplish two things. We'll be able to eliminate mailers, which will be tax savings for the community, but we'll also be able to engage with our seniors. This individual also had two more questions. What programs are available for veterans, and how can they get involved? So you know that I've been very involved with our American Legion Home 3 years ago when they really were in crisis, and so we've actually been able to get their building almost completely redone. And something you may not know is the veterans actually do their own servicing. They do a toy drive. They are constantly doing a fund drive for resources for the Vet Mart. So we do have the Vet Mart at NUMC. That's right behind Nassau University Medical Center. And the veterans can actually go and lend a helping hand to help other veterans. There are resources there that are available, and they always need help. And we're going to expand the Vet Mart as well. The next question this individual had is, where can teens get help other than in school who are being bullied and feel isolated? That's something that I can absolutely relate to because, as you know, I have two children, and growing up, each of them had an experience with bullying, and it was really heartbreaking. So the first thing that I would say is something that I did, which was to talk. And we talked and we talked and we talked, and I made sure that there was an open line of communication for each of us, and gave them an opportunity to feel validated in how they felt. In a more serious situation, there are resources. There is the Family and Children's Association. We spoke with Dr. Jeffrey Reynolds, and the available resources that there are there. There's also something that I know is not readily available to the public, and it really should be, and that's a 3-digit number that any teen or veteran that feels that they are in crisis can text, and it'll immediately go to a hotline, and someone will be there to answer the phone. And that 3-digit number is 988. So if you are in crisis or you need someone to talk to, you can dial 988, and someone will be on the other end of the phone to answer, and hopefully get you the resources and talk to you. Maybe that's just what you need in that moment. So today we answered some of the questions that I've been asked. We'll do a follow-up next week on some additional questions that have been asked. And as always, please check out my website, eileenhasaplan.com. There you'll see a lot of the key issues, and actually my plan for addressing those key issues. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. And make sure you follow me on Instagram, on Twitter. I am on TikTok. And as always, continue to text me. I love hearing from the community. This just shows me that we are a community that's engaged. That number again is 516-289-0131. As always, thank you so much for listening to me. And together, we're gonna really make some great changes. Thanks again.